Okay, so it seems that we have a pretty big update on the Takahata101 situation, and he's actually came out of a tweet talking about, some of the stuff that's been going on. Now, obviously, Takahata says, thank you for those who reached out to me. I'm aware of some incredibly serious allegations that have circulated privately the last several months. One that is simply false. Crucial facts have been admitted or distorted. As such, I've consulted with my lawyers. My legal representatives in January 2025 contacted the individual who started this, but have yet to receive any response from the individual in question. Therefore, for the sake of my mental health, I hope to move forward and at some point return to streaming and content creation. Thank you to my friends, family, and support community for your support. So, yeah, obviously, a lot of people have been welcoming Takahata back. As you know, recently, well, not recently, but a little bit ago, you guys might remember that he said that he was going to leave. And obviously, this was due to some pretty big rumors that were being spread about him. Now, obviously, as Takahata says there, the person that initially started these rumors all that time ago seems to have not responded to any kind of, lawyers or anything like that who have tried to contact them about this kind of stuff, which obviously, can be pretty annoying for someone who has some pretty serious allegations against them, especially if it's not true. Now, obviously, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying that it is true. Obviously, there is a lot of nuance to this, and it will probably take some time to have like the real truth come out about this kind of stuff. But obviously, I think it is interesting that, this person has responded. It definitely does kind of put Takahata a little bit more in the clear about this. Not totally in the clear, but, a little bit better about this because obviously, the fact that they haven't responded and they've been making all of these allegations against them, well, clearly, if you really wanted some action to be taken against them, you would talk to their legal team because, again, if there was a serious issue there, then you would just do it. But they haven't. They've just ignored them, which is pretty interesting. And obviously, that is something that we see quite common whenever people try to spread stuff about other people. But also, as well, on top of that, now, this isn't what Takahata was talking about, but people also brought up the fact that Adora Bunny actually spoke about him recently. And obviously, this was the last time we spoke about Takahata101, was the fact that Adora Bunny essentially said that the reason that she distanced from him, earlier this year was because Red Claw had shown them some anonymous allegations of Takahata doing some pretty awful stuff to her, which obviously I can't really say on the video, but you guys can see what is written right there. But yeah, it's pretty terrible. And obviously, Adora Bunny has been in some controversy herself involving Radia and people like that, to the point where she says that she's going to be leaving and she's not going to be rebranding. She's just going to be kind of leaving the community, right? So obviously, I think what this was an attempt at trying to deflect a lot of the kind of heat that she was getting her way, because she was getting a ton of heat. And I think that, I don't know whether that is true either or not, the allegations that she's putting out. And many people, a lot of people, if not the majority of people, were extremely skeptical and were not really listening to her unless someone else comes out about it. Because, again, it does seem like a desperate attempt to kind of deflect the situation that she was in. And potentially she could have made it up to do that. But also the fact of, as well, they censored most of the kind of evidence behind it as well, including some messages and things. And also the fact that, as well, she shared a kind of victim story without, really a lot of people think that she didn't really kind of question it or ask the person if they could share this, which obviously is pretty interesting too. But obviously as well, a lot of people have written this off as a misinformation potentially, and could be something to deflect it. But also it is important to keep it there in your mind because it is a pretty serious accusation, and it would be nice if Takahata could respond to that in the future as he decides to come back. Because again, obviously, it seems like now is the time for transparency and trying to be real with what is going on. And it seems like he's just been dealing with things the legal way recently, and that's why we haven't really been seeing any kind of response from him, especially including the Adora Bunny stuff. Now, maybe what Adora Bunny was talking about could be included in the serious allegations that he's saying is simply false, which could be also true. It could be the same allegations that have been circling, with this initial person who is refusing to respond to his legal team, which, could also be the case. So I definitely think, that is an interesting situation. Now, see, a lot of people have been talking about this over on the Kurosanji subreddit, saying Takahata responding to the allegations from earlier this year. I said, if he's to be believed, frankly, I don't see a reason to doubt him on this, which, yeah, 100% true. That he's been he's been ghosted by the person accusing him basically since this started, before this publicly started, goddamn. That's not exactly the best look for the accuser, especially since it's not just ghosting because he's a creep or anything, but ghosting his lawyers. Time to wait and see, I guess. Which, yeah, that's a very important point to bring up there. It's not like he's trying to DM this person, and obviously they don't want to talk to him because, potentially something bad has happened there. No, that's not the case. It's his lawyers who obviously, it is not him. It's another person, and obviously they still don't want to talk to him or them or her or whatever either. So obviously they're saying, thing is that if her statements did lead to tangible losses, like sponsorships, events, collabs, and it turns out her statements were false, then he could have a very good case to move forwards with an actual trial, and then the ball would be in her court to settle before going to trial or go through the trial. Getting subpoenaed, maybe has to testify, etc. Going to trial is the last thing anyone would ever want to do, and it is especially the last thing you want to do if you may have in fact done what you're doing, being accused of. They're saying, so her dodging the lawyers is odd. You'd think they'd be ready to talk in order to avoid escalation towards an actual trial. Maybe we'll see Maybe we'll see what happens going forwards, but her not meeting with the lawyers is strange to me and would probably not be a good look for her if this was rung up in court. So possibly a panic move. I said I'll skip the breakdown, but while there are valid reasons why a victim might want to keep the cops and criminal courts out of it, not wanting a chance that a mediated civil settlement that could put everything behind you is legit unusual. We don't know for a fact what is going on here. Of course, I'm sure there is far we don't know what we can do. So yeah, obviously, yeah, a lot of people don't know exactly what has happened, and that is why a lot of people kind of just like speculating at the moment, because again, it is a very, I think, a tricky situation to kind of navigate. People saying, can someone give me the context? He said, accused of alleged sexual assault. It is still unproven as of now, but many content creators broke off relations, innocent until proven guilty, of course, but understand why they would rather do that than continue to associate with him, which, yeah, is also true. Obviously, there's a lot of VTubers that came out with some posts saying that they didn't want to associate with him after finding out what had happened. Now, obviously, that is also an interesting factor to this case, as, were they being legitimate? Was the evidence legitimate? And they actually, summed it up and they decided, okay, I don't want to interact with this guy anymore. Or did they believe into the false information that was being spread about him? Again, it could be either of those, which is another reason why this is so tricky, because again, you don't know if the people who are separated from him have found out something that we don't know or he doesn't know that could also be, totally true. Again, it's very, very tricky. People saying, to be fair, it was Adora Bunny who said this. Now, obviously, people are getting confused. This is not Adora. I don't think it is Adora Bunny. Again, maybe she is the actual person behind the scenes, but as far as I know, Adora Bunny is just someone who tried to kind of deflect a lot of stuff with something later on. I think Takahata in his tweet is specifically referring to the person who made the initial allegations, which he made the post back on May 9th. So again, I think he's not talking about Adora Bunny there, but obviously saying, yeah, to be fair, it's Adora Bunny, considering what ended up coming out against her. It's probably for the best for everyone to throw her comments away, which is 100% true. They are definitely right there, but I think they are talking about other kind of stuff, but again, maybe they're referring to the alleged sexual assault that they're talking about. I'm not sure, but obviously they're saying everyone has distanced themselves from Taka when it broke, outright refused to say what it is about, except at that time one person said it wasn't about minors. The only person that said it was Adora Bunny recently. Oh, okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so they're trying to kind of refute that because it was Adora Bunny. Again, we don't really know much about this case at all or what they've done. Even the kind of ex-friends of Takahata who kind of distanced themselves from him didn't actually kind of say what he had done. Obviously, probably to just kind of be cordial there and not to try to spread anything further, and literally just saying, hey, we're not going to be friends anymore. But so yeah, a group of VTubers started to disassociate with him, which eventually led him to take in hiatus. The VTubers who disassociated were in Adora Bunny's group, which is a whole other drama you'd have to look at. But the end of Adora's drama is that she went scorched earth and accused Taka of doing stuff to a woman while announcing she wasn't going to stream anymore. Nobody knows who the woman is or any major details of the assault. The closest we've got is that at some point Taka admitted to doing something bad while talking to Alicia X Life, but she has been annoyingly vague about it. Again, I don't think it's annoyingly vague. I think she's just been vague for a reason. I think she doesn't want to get too involved in this. I think she did just kind of want to move on from it. So again, obviously, you know, I wouldn't call it annoyingly vague, but she was vague about it to the point where it could have been anything of an off-color joke or just a straight-up murder. So yeah, obviously saying, you know, it could be literally the most tame thing ever, or it could be the most extreme thing ever. No one knows. That's the thing. It's really, you know, it sucks. Obviously, it can't be that bad if Taka is, you know, planning on coming back, you know, and obviously he's saying that a lot of stuff is false and crucial facts have been omitted. So I think something has gone on, but I think it might be a little bit of a misunderstanding. And on top of that, people have been spreading like completely false things, which obviously does suck. They're saying multiple people have seen Taka's side of the story and sided with him. Others have sided against him, not for what he did, but for what he said in his own defense, per Alicia X Life, who admittedly isn't the best judge of character in general. The only person who said it was SA was Adora, and evidence was essentially non-existent. I have strong doubts that anyone who stands by Taka through this would do so if Adora was telling the truth. TFS had an anti in the past that previously accused the entire group, Shady Vox, who was vanished following being called out by Little Kurobo. Until we see what the actual accusation is and whatever evidence Taka shared with the others, we do not know enough to judge the situation. Given the alleged victim has completely ghosted Taka's lawyer, I personally doubt there will be any conclusion that satisfies everyone, which 100% is true. And obviously people saying Adora Bunny said, but wasn't she like all of us? Part of the peanut gallery who isn't the victim at all and just recently reignited the drama to deflect her own drama, which is true. This person is completely right. The Adora Bunny stuff happened later on. This is separate to the lawyers speaking to someone. Maybe the lawyers did also speak to Adora Bunny, but I think this is someone completely separate. But yeah, it's a very interesting situation. That obviously there's been a lot of stuff that's been coming out. Obviously, I think it would be nice if Takahata, whenever he does come back, could clear up exactly what happened, as it would end a lot of the kind of, you know, people thinking up of ideas and speculating about what actually had happened. Because again, I think that it would kind of conclude this pretty well. And obviously, if they are ghosting their lawyers, then it doesn't really look very good for the person that has been accusing them of whatever they have done. Again, we still don't even know exactly what they've done, let alone, you know, whether they did it or not, you know. So again, it is pretty crazy that, you know, we still don't know anything to do with that. But that is an update on Takahata. Honestly, you know, it's looking a little bit better for him at the moment, as, you know, they haven't responded, and obviously he's planning to come back to streaming. So again, it's just interesting to see whether people will accept him back. At the moment, it seems like a lot of people have been, you know, supporting him in the kind of replies and stuff. So again, we'll have to wait and see, but again, it's just an interesting situation overall. But if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code CASA, get 10% off again. They've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. I definitely recommend checking it out. Also, we've got YouTube memberships on if you guys want to go check that out and join. It'll be just right below me, right next to the subscribe button. So I definitely recommend doing that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.